Did you hear about the wedding last weekend?
What wedding?
It was so beautiful. Even the cake was in tears.
Oh, that was a dad joke like no other.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast where the brain and belly meet. I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking Instant Pot number 2.
Instant Pot dose?
Yes, kind of different things you can do with your Instant Pot because it's not just for braising meat.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, Hungry Squared.
Sharon, how has your week been?
It's been good.
Has it? It's been kind of a crazy week.
Yeah, it's been busy.
We got to see each other twice this week,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been great.
Yeah.
And did you eat anything fun? I'm just going to ask that question first of all.
I did. I ate a lot of fun things.
Yeah. What?
What? I'd like to tell you about the luscious and creamy potato soup that Ike made me.
Oh.
But I can't because the immersion blender broke while he was preparing it.
That's right.
And it broke while he was blending it.
So there were
various metal shavings in different pieces in the soup.
Oh, man.
We should have used the Blendtec.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there.
The Blendtec is solid.
But yeah, and I wasn't watching him do it, so part of me wonders, did he just break it? Like, because he was being too rough or what? Like, I don't know. Maybe he just he's like, no, it fell apart. And like, when he showed it to me, I was like, well, what do you mean it fell apart? And like, this actual stick of the immersion blender, must have been like 7 pieces.
It was?
I had no idea that it even consisted of 7 or more pieces, but apparently it does. And like, there's an inside to it that like popped out. And I was like, what? I've had this immersion blender for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So, and I've used it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's always been a good, faithful immersion blender until this week. So I'm kind of sad about that. So I can't tell you about this delicious potato soup that I had because I still haven't had it.
That is a little disappointing.
But we went to a Utah food influencers and bloggers night out this week.
Yeah, their holiday party. It was super fun.
And Lee made a fantastic pasta salad. As you listeners know, we've told you many times, Lee makes food for an army. And so
that's an understatement in this case, actually.
They brought
even
2 large serving bowls of this yummy pasta salad. It's a balsamic pasta salad with pine nuts and like really aged Parmesan bits.
Yeah.
They're salty and crunchy and really good.
There's bacon in that one.
Bacon and tomatoes and basil and penne pasta and just that balsamic. So yummy. So 2 huge serving bowls. And then when it came time to leave, they combined those serving bowls into 1 large serving bowl.
Yes.
And then Ike said, well, you don't want to take all that home. Why don't we take half? And later he said, well, I was just joking. And I was like, you said it with a completely straight face. And so Lee, of course, ended up scooping half of the pasta salad into one of the bowls.
For it.
And we went home with that. And so we've been munching on that all week. And it's been yummy.
I honestly think it gets better.
It does. It gets better with a couple of days.
Yeah, because then like the balsamic kind of soaks in. And he used the IGP balsamic vinegar that we got at La Noche, which is in the Modena region. So this is not the traditional
real stuff.
This is not the traditional one, the thick stuff, but he used the gourmet version of it. So one that you can use for cooking, and I use that loosely, but they recommend using it in like cold salads and that type of thing. So it was dang good.
It was delicious. We didn't heat it up. We just ate it cold.
Yeah, it's kind of lovely and perfect that way. Yes, that is a good salad.
So that's what I ate this week. I didn't get my potato salad, but I got Lee's pasta salad, and that was really good.
That is awesome.
What did you eat this week?
Awesome. Well, like I said, we went to that party, and I forgot how much I love the Beehive Cheese Company. They were one of the sponsors at the party, and I happened to win a couple of blocks of their cheese as part of a giveaway, but I forgot how much I love their promontory cheese and then their barely buzzed cheese. The barely buzzed has is it espresso on the outside or something?
Yeah, it's espresso coffee grounds.
Yeah.
And lavender.
I don't drink coffee, but for some reason, kind of that dark, it's almost smoky flavored.
Mm-hmm.
It is a really nice complement to the cheese, which is salty, and it's a drier cheese. It's an aged cheese. I would say a cheddar, kind of a white cheddar.
An aged cheddar.
But yeah, both of them are so delicious. It was super. I mean, we just had a lot of good food because we had Smith's, who we love, donated a ton of stuff for the spread so that we could just enjoy it.
And shout out to Smith's. They're a Kroger brand grocery store. So like if you live in California, it's probably Fry's.
Yeah.
Something like that. If you're in the South, it is Kroger. But they donated a lot of food to our group, but also our group did a service project for the Children's Justice Centers.
Yes.
And they are amazing. That's the place where kids who have been abused and are victims of crime, either physical abuse or sexual abuse, they go so they can have a safe place to talk to law enforcement and healthcare providers and mental health providers. And like places like the DCFS, which is the Department of Family and Children's Services, they go there to these places and they are run by the counties, run by the state, but they don't have a lot of funding.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids that get pulled out to come and talk to those providers, the law enforcement officials and whatnot, lots of times they haven't eaten in a while.
Yeah. And they're kind of scared.
They're scared. And so Smith's donated a ton of food to them.
Yeah.
Capri Sun and snacks and things like that. So kids can kind of be comforted while they are talking and telling their stories, because they have to tell their stories a bunch of different times to a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But, you know, they can be nourished and kind of continue on in that fight. So thanks, Smith.
Yeah, seriously. It was really cool to see that come together. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes. So if you are looking for a place to donate this season, that is actually a really good place to put your money to, so that it can help out the community, because there are people out there trying to fight for the people that don't have a voice. So this is one way that you can help.
And now for the main course.
Okay, let's get down to our first topic at hand, and that is Instant Pot 2.
So, Sharon, you don't have an Instant Pot.
I don't. So we talked about Instant Pot around last Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And we talked to Kathy Hester, actually. She is an author. She's a blogger, but she specifically does vegan cooking, because that's a decision she made early on in her life. And she's kind of stuck with it. And she really makes beautiful, delicious, things, recipes and such. So we talked about the Instant Pot, and we purchased an Instant Pot, Lee and I, and love it. Sharon is not on board still.
I'm still nervous. I mean, this is not a good week. The the immersion blender broke. Yeah. And I'm not the one that broke it. So now it's 2 for 2 in our house.
The curse I don't know. Is the curse leaking out to other people now?
What if Ike breaks the Instant Pot? What if it's not even me? Then I'll be mad.
You will be mad, because the Instant Pot is awesome. Okay, so I have noticed so I'm on a couple of Instant Pot community forums and that type of thing. So just kind of see what people are doing out there. And some people have said, well, I'm not convinced about the Instant Pot, and how awesome it is.
But they own one?
Yeah. For one reason or the other.
That's really sad. I think they're not trying. I think they're not trying.
So they were maybe gifted it, or they got it because it's a craze right now. I will say that I want to say there are many things you can do in the Instant Pot. And that was why we wanted to do Instant Pot Part 2, which is the other things that you can do in the Instant Pot besides braising meat, for example. Because the Instant Pot is awesome if you want to make something super tender. You have no idea how many people post about making a full rack of ribs in their Instant
A full
Pot.
rack.
Yeah, or they do ribs in the Instant Pot, because then it just makes it super tender, fall off the bone kind of thing. The Instant Pot shines when it comes to meats, I would say, in general. If you wanted, we've talked about our barbecue chicken that we do, super easy barbecue chicken, barbecue sauce, chicken, and onions, and that's it. And it's the most tender chicken thigh you can eat. I suggested, I was like, Sharon, we should talk about other things you can do with the Instant Pot that are kind of fun, and I hadn't tried them yet. So this week was a series of experimentation with the Instant Pot, using it besides making meat, cooking meat.
Oh, good.
So the first thing I want to talk about is yogurt.
I had that yogurt and it is yummy yogurt.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Super good.
So the yogurt, the Instant Pot has a yogurt function. And this is one thing that I did not realize before this, but it is not really, it doesn't pressurize. Did you know that? It doesn't pressurize at all.
So I know that some Instant Pots have a yogurt function and some don't.
Yeah.
Is this, which Instant Pot do you have that has the yogurt function?
I have the 7-in-1.
Okay.
And so it does have a yogurt button.
But there's no pressurization involved with the yogurt.
Yep. In fact, they say that if your ring, because sometimes your ring can take on the silicone ring that seals up your Instant Pot. If it's been used enough times, it may take on the smell of the food that you have been cooking.
I saw that on some of the forums, and Instant Pot recommended that you could do different things to wash it to rid yourself of the smell, or some people opt to get a second ring and have a sweet ring and a savory ring.
Exactly. And they actually have some that are a red and a blue ring. And I can put the links in the show notes so you can differentiate, like my red ring is going to be my sweet ring and the blue ring is going to be my savory. So you can kind of keep them separate. In fact, I think I have a friend who does it where she has, she probably has 3 different rings. So the original ring and then the 2 extras that she bought. And she has one that's specifically for like Indian food, because Indian food is
very pronounced.
Yeah. I mean, those flavors are going to be they'll stick around, I think.
Are these rings expensive?
No.
And are they complicated to switch out?
No. In fact, it's really quite easy to slip one of those in and slip a new one in. So they're not expensive. I think they probably, for the 2-pack, I think it's like $10 or something.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. So I'll put a link in the show notes so you can see what I'm talking about. So
do you have different rings for yours yet?
I don't. Okay. And so I was a little concerned about doing the yogurt, and
because you were planning on it being a little bit sweet.
Well, I want it to be sweet. I like yogurt that's kind of sweet. That's just me. I have a sweet tooth, so that's just the way it goes for me. So I posted something about doing yogurt, and the cool thing about the Instant Pot, I'm just going to say that it is, like I said, not pressurized, but it keeps it at a constant a constant temperature that is ideal for making yogurt, because it does need to basically incubate. So let's just break down how yogurt is made, right? So you take milk, you add in some live cultures, whatever that happens to be, and we can talk about
kind of live cultures are we talking about?
Lactobacillus and that type of thing.
Can you just get those?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can actually just go to the store and buy some plain yogurt with live cultures in it. That's what I'm.
So you just add a little bit of plain yogurt for those cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the bacteria is it's hungry and it wants to eat the lactose, which is a sugar, and break that down to create yogurt. That's kind of the basic gist of it. But bacteria likes to live in a certain temperature. And so that's what the Instant Pot does. You just push the yogurt button and then you hit adjust for however long you want it to go. And it really just depends. So I was actually quite fearful of this. And my sister-in-law, who actually introduced me to the Instant Pot originally, she's like, oh, it's so great. You should maybe think about getting one of these, because she bought it on Prime Day like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And so then that Black Friday, she's like, you should get it. It's really cheap right now. I was like, okay. So I got it, and she still has not made yogurt. And I'm like,
she hasn't?
You haven't? So I think yogurt is kind of scary, actually, for a lot of people. I mean,
okay. It seems complicated.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of things when it comes to technology that you kind of feel a little
intimidated by. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I totally get that. And because I have had my Instant Pot for over a year and still had not done anything at all with anything besides braising meats. I know. Sad, isn't it? Okay. So I stuck out. I posted on one of the community forums and just said, okay, I'm a total yogurt newbie. Let's talk about what are the different ways. How should I just do it? Just what's the best way to give it a whirl and make it so that I don't feel like I failed completely. If I'm going to spend the money to buy the ingredients, I kind of want it to work.
It's always a bummer when you spend money on ingredients and you're really looking forward to a dish and then it flops.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to plan ahead and make it work.
Yeah. So I so everybody put in their 2 cents. And I am the type of person that I like to be super exact about things, but my lack of time sometimes supersedes that. So I need easy.
Yeah, so that's something I've noticed about the Instant Pot is that Instant Pot themselves, the company, doesn't really make a cookbook for it, but they have a lot of recommendations for cookbooks from other authors and bloggers who have created recipes designed for the Instant Pot.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a lot of trial and error with the Instant Pot that you can, it's not a really exact science.
Yeah. Well,
so did you get a consensus when people were giving you advice about yogurt?
No. So,
or notice any trends?
Yes, I did notice some trends because the major thing, if you were going to do something called the boil method, and I'm going to just make a disclaimer right now, I actually did the cold start yogurt, and I'll kind of describe that in just a minute. But a lot of people said, if you're going to do yogurt, make sure your temperatures are right on. Make sure you're taking a thermometer and just verifying your temperatures.
So like a candy thermometer or something?
Yeah, a candy thermometer or whatever you've got.
Okay.
We have, I think, a different meat thermometer that would actually work just fine from ThermoWorks. And so there's different ways that you can do it. So that was one of the things that was like, make sure your temperatures are right on. The other consensus that I really appreciated was everybody's like, yogurt is not scary.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think everybody thinks it's scary. And I assume that these people have had that same kind of fear originally. And then they're like, no, it's so easy. And I make this yogurt that is so, so tasty. So let me tell you what I did. I did something called the Cold Start Instant Pot Yogurt. And I used it off of the website Frida Loves Bread. So she got on she saw my post and she kind of like, hey, blah, 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 this is what I would do. And this is what I recommend. And so I was like, oh, okay. So she put in several things and other people had kind of like, oh, yeah, this method was actually pretty good. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give that a try because it seems really easy because she reassured like, this is going to be easy. It will be easy. Give it a try. Okay. So they basically, these are the 2 ingredients and there could be additional ingredients if you want it to be. So 2 ingredients, 1 carton of Fairlife milk. And if you don't know what Fairlife milk is, it is an ultra pasteurized milk and it's lactose free. So there's that. And then 1 tablespoon of fresh plain yogurt with those live cultures in it, like we talked about.
Okay.
And a couple of things, the cultures have to be kind of fresh. So if you've had it in the fridge already for a couple days, you don't want to do it. So just kind of have an open one because I suspect that fresh yogurt, after it's been sitting there for a while, the cultures they're probably in a stasis when they're in the fridge, but they probably are not as active after having been open for a while. So
freshly opened container of yogurt.
So I just purchased Fage, Fage, the plain yogurt, and it has live cultures. So I just bought a little bit of that, and it's just one of those single serving sizes. Took a tablespoon of that when it was time. So this is all I did. Put the Instant Pot in there. I did clean the Instant Pot and all of my like whisking utensils and such pretty well because once again, you want the bacteria that is good to do what it needs to do and not introduce anything else into it.
Right.
Some people sanitize it, the Instant Pot and everything else in their dishwasher. I just did it with some really, really hot soapy water and then dried it with some paper towels. So that was just me. If you feel like you should sanitize it, please do that. I don't want to encourage you not to do that. This is the way, once again, my limit of time really dictates what I do sometimes. So she did recommend, Frida did recommend you could add 1 can of sweetened condensed milk.
Ooh, okay.
You could add also 1 cup of heavy cream.
Now you're speaking my language. Okay.
Yeah. And this, let me just take you back. The Fairlife milk should be they recommend the whole or the 2%. And you can even do the skim if you want to. I went for 2% because that's what my store had. That's what they had.
So is there a reason why you're using the lactose free?
I think it just needs to be the ultra pasteurized.
Oh,
milk.
Okay.
And I kind of really liked it only because of the fact that I am a lactard. I'm lactose intolerant too.
Yeah.
Yogurts generally do okay because the lactose has been processed by the bacteria, so that it breaks it down into glucose and galactose. Generally, I do a little bit better with that. And so this one, when I made it, I did the carton of Fairlife milk, and that was 2%, 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
And 1 cup of heavy cream.
So this was dessert yogurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys. This
Okay.
was like...
I mean, I just had a little bowl of it just before we started recording. And I was like, wow, I could get used to this yogurt. It's so healthy. Like,
No.
that's what I was thinking in my head.
It's totally not healthy. I personally don't think
Okay,
it's
so it was
very
dessert.
healthy.
All right. Good to know.
But you know what? Lucy, who is finally on the growth charts,
Woohoo, that's exciting.
I know it is.
Now that she's 3.
Yeah, exactly. She will eat a whole bowl of that with some berries and stuff like that. So
you can healthify it, is
yes.
what you're saying.
Mhm. I can sort of healthify it. So I did it only for 7 hours. So you incubate it, you put the lid on, you set the vent. I mean, I think it just needs to be closed. But once again, it's not pressurizing at all. It's just getting to a warmer temperature so that the bacteria can do what they need to do. Like I said, break down the different sugars into a more simple sugar and thicken up. And I ended up having, after 7 hours, I turned it off at 7 hours just because we had to go somewhere.
Okay.
Turned it off and then stuck it in the fridge. Covered it up and stuck it in the fridge overnight.
Did you take the inner pot out of the Instant Pot and just covered it and put it in the fridge?
Yep, totally did that.
So was it hot when you took it out?
Nope, it just kind of warm.
Oh, okay.
Because it really does not need to get you don't want it to be too hot because then it will kill off your bacteria.
Yeah, okay.
And I know that if you want to do yogurt, you should, if you want it to be less tangy. Now, mine was not tangy at all because of the fact I put a can of sweetened condensed milk.
Which was really good.
Yeah. So just note that. But if you want it less tangy, then you go for about 6.5 hours. Well, if you want it more tangy, then you go 8 hours, 9 hours.
Oh, okay.
Now, one of my friends at work, she uses the Instant Pot, but she uses skim milk. And she says that she wanted it thicker, so she went 10 hours. So
interesting.
Yeah. So it really depends. And you just see. Now, I stuck it in the fridge. And then the recommendation is if it's not thick enough for you, then strain it some more. And then you can have more like a Greek yogurt consistency.
Okay.
And so I ended up looking at it the next day and I was like, this is plenty thick. What you ate today was just a little thinner because it had more of the whey in it.
Oh, okay.
I could have poured some of that off, but I couldn't see any whey. Like there's nothing really to do it because it was kind of within the yogurt itself. So, but yeah, I chilled it and it's just been in my fridge. It's good for usually about 2 weeks or so. So we've just been eating it this weekend because we made it like from that 52 ounce, it seems like a half gallon. We made a ton of yogurt. So we've just been eating it every day.
And what are you keeping it in the fridge?
In just a Pyrex, like a Pyrex with a lid on it. So I actually just barely purchased little pint size Ball plastic cups.
Oh,
by the company Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And they have lids on them. It's for freezer jam, but I'm like, I'm going to use it to make myself a parfait. So,
yeah, good idea. And then you can take it to work.
Yeah, but that's totally what I did. So totally love that. So don't be fearful. I haven't tried the boil method, so I'm going to just make that disclaimer. I have not done the boil method. So those people that want to speak on that, I would love to hear your thoughts on if you think that's intimidating. Because I thought the cold start was super not intimidating. I loved it. In fact, I didn't have to think about it. And I got a really awesome, tasty product in the end. Maybe not the most healthy, but it was dang good. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, Sharon, is vanilla extract.
All right. So you told me the other day that you were making vanilla extract in your Instant Pot. And I was wondering how that exactly happens. If it's like when we were talking to Jason Logsdon about sous vide.
Yes.
I was wondering if it's a little bit like that. The vanilla extract that I've made is just a straight infusion.
Yeah.
And it's infused over time.
Right.
So I've got a quart size mason jar with several vanilla beans and some vodka in it.
How many vanilla beans did you use?
I started off with maybe 6 or 8 in my quart size jar.
Oh, and tell me again where you got this recipe.
From Joy the Baker.
Is that from her first cookbook?
Yes. Okay. It's from her first cookbook and it's in the introductory section. Okay. So it's not an actual written out recipe, but she talks about in depth about it.
Oh, okay.
So you can kind of copy what she did. And that's what I did. And then I waited for about 3 months until I could use it. And I put it in a cool, dark place. And I would just shake it up every once in a while. And I split those vanilla beans and scraped out the insides and then kept the pods in there as well.
Awesome.
So I've got like the filling is kind of just floating around in there, the bean, and then the actual bean, and then the alcohol.
What did you use for the alcohol?
I used Grey Goose vodka, which is a grain alcohol. So it is not gluten-free. Mm-hmm. It's made with, gosh, I want to say oats or something. I just remember thinking that, like, from the ingredients, like the base of the alcohol, that my friend who has celiac disease, I was like, all right, well, I need to make sure that I don't use this when I make her anything.
Right.
So I did use Grey Goose. You could use any other kind of vodka, I'm sure. That's just kind of what I had to hand. And I've had that same batch of vanilla that I've added to.
Right. Both beans and
for
alcohol.
about 4 years.
You know what? And
so I've just kind of kept it going.
It's like a sourdough starter.
A little bit. It just kind of ages, and I add more beans to it and more alcohol is needed.
Yeah. So Sharon, the reason why I wanted to try doing vanilla extract, first of all, was because Jason Logsdon actually suggested it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We're going to actually have him on to talk about sous vide eventually here in the next couple of months. So tune in for that. But I remember him talking about that. I was like, oh, I want to try that. And have you seen how much vanilla extract costs nowadays?
It's really expensive. Vanilla beans right now are super expensive because there is a shortage.
There is.
There was a huge storm in March of this year that basically decimated the vanilla bean crop in the island of Madagascar, which is off of Africa. And that's where a lot of the world's vanilla beans come from.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that because I'm like, if I'm going to spend $27, it really was 27. And this was at Costco, people.
Yeah.
You can get generally a pretty decent size bottle of it for, in the past, it's been like $15, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, $27.
Well, and it's going to be like that for a while because it takes about 3 years for that vanilla bean crop to build back up.
Yeah. And it so happened that I was like, you know what? I am going to do some research on an infusion in the Instant Pot, which is what this vanilla extract is. And I do happen to have some leftover vanilla bean pods that I've just had for a little while. Nice. And they've been just kept and preserved. I mean, they've just kind of been put into a jar that is airtight. So they are still they weren't dried out or anything. So it was really nice. So I'm like, I'm going to give this a try because if I have to pay $27, if once again, my cheapness comes out. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go see what I can do. So I sent Lee off to go get some vodka. And he just asked the person that worked at the state liquor store, like, what is a good neutral, right? Because I want the vanilla to shine. I don't want any other flavors to come out. Yeah. Would you say that's good?
Yeah.
Smart?
I mean, you can use, we've talked about it before, you can use different alcohols with vanilla.
Oh, yeah.
Like a bourbon and things like that. But if you want a clean, just straight vanilla taste, a neutral spirit is the best to use.
So we got Five Wives vodka. And once again, that one, they suggested that was actually a really good neutral tasting vodka. So that's what we went with. And then I, once again, did the exact same thing as you did. Cut your beans in half and just plopped them in there and added, and I did these in little pint-sized mason jars.
Yep.
Wide mouth mason jars. And swirled those in, stuck it into the Instant Pot. I put a trivet in, so they were they were not sitting at the bottom of the pan.
Oh, okay. And you stuck the jars in there.
Stuck the jars in there just on that trivet and put in a cup of water into the bottom of it. And then I did it for high pressure or the high.
So were the glasses in the water then?
No, they were not. They were above the water. Yeah, because it was only a cup of water. That's to help to get the pressure up. And then so I did that for 25 minutes and then I natural released it for 10 minutes and then pulled it out.
Were they hot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
so
it was
you
on
had
high.
to use gloves.
Yeah. So I actually
remove them.
let them sit for just a minute. So I got this particular recipe from Tidbits by Marcy. I will put a link in the show notes, but she kind of said screw on the lids, sort of, just barely.
Oh, so you did put the lids on them.
Just barely. I hardly screwed them on. I think it was more just to keep everything from kind of bubbling out or spilling. I will say that I put in the alcohol up to about the thread lines. And when I pulled it out, because I had kind of screwed them on lightly, I mean, I had some evaporation of the alcohol itself. So, which is totally fine. Now, I will say this, Lee had stepped out for a few minutes, and while this was happening, and then he came back into the house after I'd finished.
Oh no. Did it smell?
He came in and he's like, wow, what are you doing in here, Winter? Are you getting drunk? And I was like, no.
Oh no.
It smelled a little alcohol-y, apparently, in here.
Was Lucy asleep?
She was asleep by then.
So she wasn't inhaling these alcohol fumes.
Yeah. And I will say that it had a little bit of boozier smell to it for the first 2 days. That was 2 days ago. And I let you smell it just now, Sharon.
Yeah. And it smells pretty much like
a
vanilla extract that I've been using.
Yeah.
It's not very boozy.
Yeah.
It's more of a pure vanilla scent.
Yeah, which is really cool, because if you think about it, infusions, like we talked about with Jason, and he talks about it in his Modernist Cooking Made Easy book called Infusions. An infusion is basically a process where you're extracting flavors from a food into a liquid.
Right.
And so because you are able to do that in a short amount of time, because you are applying some heat and some pressure, it is kind of forcing the flavor to come out quicker than it would, say, if it was just sitting in the back of your cupboard.
Right.
So that's kind of the cool thing about it. Now, I have been really excited because I've seen some other forms where they talk about making peppermint extract and lemon extract. And I was like, oh man, I can get down with this.
Yeah. You guys, this would be great for homemade
holiday gifts. Oh my gosh.
Holiday gifts for like the neighbors or just like your family.
Yeah.
Because that is such a short amount of time. I had to wait 3 months to use my vanilla extract. And the first time I made it with some bourbon that I had on hand, which was a big mistake, but I didn't know it at the time. And so I almost gave my friend a heart attack from the vanilla that I was going to gift her, which I didn't end up gifting her, by the way, because it was just so fumey.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Just so fumey. But like this, in just a matter of days, and it's really quick. And these little pint jars or half pint jars you could even do. Yeah.
Super
it's
cute.
Awesome. Super cute. Super easy.
Yeah. And I like throw a ribbon on that and you're done. So, but I do love the fact that I use pressure, like this pressure cooker, to force this infusion. Now, I don't get me wrong. I bet it's going to be brighter in flavor for a little bit.
Sure.
But I think, and it will mellow out as time goes on.
I think it'll get better with age though.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that to disregard the way you've made it before in the past.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, with time, it's going to just get better. So give that a try. I think it would be really fun. So I'll put in the show notes that recipe and maybe a couple other links for like some of those other extracts that I saw. Cause I'm kind of excited to make those.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh. Okay, Sharon, last thing I want to talk about that I, once again, don't want people to be scared of, because I have been intimidated by it, is making a cheesecake in the Instant Pot.
So when you told me that you had made a cheesecake, I thought it was totally weird, because I've seen your Instant Pot. It looks like a cross, like when you open it, it looks kind of a cross between maybe a rice cooker and a slow cooker. Yeah. It's got an inside pot or pan.
The insert.
Yeah. You remove it, but you can saute meat in there.
Yep.
Or onions or whatever you want to do. So it's got this saute function where it works like a stove top on the bottom. Yeah. But then, I mean, it's just this pot that you remove, like your rice cooker or your crock pot or whatever have you. And so I was wondering what you're using to make a cheesecake and if it's just this insert or what.
Gotcha.
And so I was so confused.
Okay, there was a lot of confusion for me too. I would just see pictures of people with these beautiful cheesecakes. I'm like, what the crap are they doing? How do they make that? I was a little confused myself. And people that have Instant Pots and have made cheesecakes before are probably like, oh, Winter, you're so dumb. I just want to say that there's just an intimidation factor because you just don't know how to use it. So I'm here to say you can make a cheesecake in your Instant Pot. And I'm talking to my sister-in-law and my friend at work who still hasn't made a cheesecake in the Instant Pot, which I'm a little surprised because they're way better at the Instant Pot than I am. So one thing that was really fun is that my sister-in-law, she did actually gift me a 7-inch springform pan.
So this is quite a bit smaller than your standard cheesecake size springform pan by at least 2 or 3 inches.
Yeah. The one that we use in the, the regular oven is a 9-inch.
Yeah.
And so
I think I have a 9 or 11 inch. It's pretty big.
So she gifted this to me last Christmas. So let's say it's been a whole freaking year. I've had this springform pan in my...
And you've not used it.
Not used it until this week because we had an assignment to talk about other things you can do in the Instant Pot. This is how I work, people. Deadlines. So this lovely little springform pan, it's really cute actually. And you know what? I'm going to say this is the way to do cheesecake because let's be honest, cheesecake, how many pieces of cheesecake should you be eating? Really?
Should you be eating? Not many. And cheesecake is meant to be shared.
Yes.
And I mean, with this 7-inch springform pan in your Instant Pot, it fits right in.
Yes.
There's just enough room that Winter was saying she made a sling for it so she could lift it out.
Yep.
Because it goes directly on the bottom of the pan.
No, it actually sits on the trivet. Yeah. So you put a trivet in and then you put the water.
You put a water bath type of a thing.
And it's not going to be, it's not necessarily a water bath. So I'm going to stop for 2 seconds and we'll talk about how we did it in the Instant Pot. But let's talk cheesecake for just 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
What is a cheesecake ultimately?
It's really dense cream cheese and some sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yummy. I've made a few cheesecakes before. I've made like the little no-bake cheesecake with your graham cracker crust and like
those are pretty good.
Cream cheese, but other creams and milks and stuff like that. And so it's just kind of like a dessert, but it's not really a cheesecake. And then I've made cheesecake with like the water bath, like New York style, really dense.
Right.
That type of thing.
Okay. So a cheesecake, when all is said and done, it has a lot to do with the eggs in it because cheesecakes generally have some sort of cheese in them, usually like a cream cheese. Sometimes I think, ricotta cheese sometimes is used.
Right. Or mascarpone.
Yeah. And then there's eggs. And when you kind of put those things together, there's kind of this fat and then there's these eggs. The eggs create a custard. So that is what a cheesecake is, if you think about it, is
really
a custard.
Dense custard.
Now, when heat is applied, what happens is that the protein strands of the egg, right? There's plenty of protein, is that if you use a gentle heat, then the network of these egg proteins are loose and smooth. Okay. Now, if you crank up the heat, then they're going to start making stronger bonds. Those proteins are going to make stronger bonds and they're going to clump and lump. Not good. You don't want that because then you're not going to have something that is smooth and velvety. You're going to have something that has curdled in a sense.
Oh, man.
No, you do not want a curdly cheesecake.
No, that's gross.
Have you ever had a curdly creme brulee? Ooh.
Unfortunately, yes. It was one time.
Yeah.
And it looked fine on the top, but then once you broke it open, it was gross. And I sent it back. It was at a restaurant.
Oh, good. Okay. You should send stuff like that back. So, okay. So now I love this book from Cooks Illustrated, The Science of Good Cooking, because they actually do experiments. That's what they do. They're kind of America's Test Kitchen. And they talk about the water bath because I've always wondered why the water bath. I don't get it. I always run into the issue of like water leaking into the spring form. I thought it was
kind of like a slower cooking.
Yes.
But whenever I've done the water bath, I've kind of wrapped my springform pan in foil.
Yeah. They recommend doing a double layer of
so
foil.
It doesn't leak.
Yeah. So let's talk about what they did. So they did an experiment where they cooked one cheesecake in the oven and they cooked another one in a water bath in the oven also. And they pulled them out. So when the center reached 147 degrees. Okay. Now, the one that was just straight in the oven, they checked the edge and that one had the temperature of the edge was 213 degrees. The one in the water bath, actually, because of the fact that at 212 degrees, water goes from the the liquid state to the gaseous state. The outside temperature nearest the perimeter for the one that was in the water bath was only 184 degrees.
Yeah, I think it tempers it better.
Yes.
So your cheesecake stays moist without being without breaking usually, and without
cracking.
Yeah, those cracks and maybe some curdling could happen. I'm not quite sure. I think it just gets overcooked though.
Yeah, that's basically what happens is if you're just doing a straight cheesecake without a water bath, and then you're going to run the risk of some of the egg proteins curdling before the entire thing is done. Because obviously the heat conductance, I guess, in a cheesecake is going to be, you're going to be cooler in the center. It's going to take a minute for that section to be cooked through, while the outside is going to be closest to the pan, which is metallic, right? Generally metallic and hot and will conduct heat. That's going to just cook faster. So the water bath is there to prevent it from heating up too quickly, doing kind of a more even temperature throughout the entire cake while it's being cooked. And that's kind of the key. The other thing that is really fun is the water bath actually adds moisture into the surrounding area so that it prevents the top from cracking. Also, it adds moisture to the cake itself. Okay. So I was like, okay, that's the cheesecake. Now, how does it work in the Instant Pot? And this is my hypothesis.
How does it work, Winter? Is it magical?
It is kind of magical because, like I said, I placed the water, a cup of water in the bottom, had the trivet above it, and then I put a little aluminum foil sling and lowered it down into it, closed it up. I put it on high. I placed it on high, which is a setting, and did it for 25 minutes. Cooked it for 25
minutes.
Yeah. How long does a cheesecake usually take?
At least an hour, if not more.
Yeah.
Because usually it's not quite done in those bigger springform pans. At least it's not quite done at an hour.
So it's 25 minutes, and then you would let it natural release. And so those who have the Instant Pot, that just basically means you just turn it off and let it sit there until
the steam valve just does a natural release, and you're not manually releasing the pressure
all
valve. That steam and stuff at once.
Yeah. So that is kind of the thing that I did was 10 minutes. I'll be completely honest. I made Lee do that part because I was somewhere else. And then when he released the pressure, he was really careful to open it because obviously there's some condensation that has occurred on the sides of the pot as well as above on the lid. And so he had to be really careful.
Is that getting on your cheesecake?
So yes, it does kind of condense on the top of the cheesecake.
Okay.
But all we did was take a corner of a paper towel and soaked up any of that additional water.
Easy. Okay.
And then pulled it out and let it cool on the countertop for however long it took to cool. And then we put it in the fridge overnight. And the one I actually made was a black raspberry cheesecake.
Oh.
It was delicious with some ganache topping, and it was pretty dang tasty. I'm just going to put that out there.
Nice.
And it had an Oreo cookie crust. I'm totally not sold on that cookie crust.
I'll be honest, I am.
You are?
I liked the cream. So Winter made an Oreo cookie crust and she just crushed up the Oreos is what I'm assuming.
Yes.
Crushed with up maybe some butter.
Just a little bit of butter. It was like 2 tablespoons of butter.
Yeah. So you could probably cut one of those tablespoons of butter, I'll bet.
You think?
And it won't be as
It was quite
moist.
Yes. It was a little bit softer than I would have preferred.
Pretty soft, but it was really good to have the cream taste with the chocolate cookie taste.
Okay.
So I would try maybe cutting out one of the tablespoons of butter and see what happens.
Okay. I will maybe try that because it was quite...
I really liked the cookies and cream crust, not just the chocolate cookie crust.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So I think what is happening is that because it is maintaining a pressure and a heat that is pretty constant, it is cooking the cheesecake more consistently than, say, in the oven, which is limited because you have heat coils on the top, heat coils on the bottom.
Yeah, especially if you're not using those convection ovens, you're not usually getting a really even heat.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to rotate racks and different things like that sometimes.
So I think the key to the Instant Pot is that you are getting more uniformity, just overall. And that's the key to making a really pretty cheesecake. Now, I will tell you this right now. I made a couple of mistakes. I had my cream cheese, I had my eggs at room temperature, but I forgot to put my sour cream at room temperature. And that's one thing I've been doing some research.
What does that change?
Same thing. It's just to make it so that everything creams together without overbeating it. Because if you have a good if you have a good cheesecake, you have not whipped too much air in it. Because I think that's the thing that is the issue, is that I've whipped too much air into it because I was trying to make everything uniform.
Sense. When I've made my cheesecakes, I've done it. I haven't made a cheesecake in a long time, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've done it, I've used a food processor.
Yeah.
And most of the time when I've used that food processor to blend it, it's just until it's mixed, just barely until everything's mixed together.
And I think that's
even then I kind of do a little bit of folding at the end.
Yeah.
I just kind of pulse it until it's, that is just barely mixed. And then I do like 2 folds.
And that's it. And that's the thing I with the eggs, even I was blended it right until it was just in. And then I added the next one, basically did the same thing. But I will say that I think I got too much loft because of that. Okay. And it was not as dense as I think I would have preferred it. You said it was really good.
I loved it. So the ganache that was on top was it was good, but it was really hard.
It had firmed up.
Quite a bit. And the middle, so the actual cheesecake part, doesn't quite hold up to the ganache when you put your fork through it. Mm-hmm. It kind of collapses just a teeny bit. But I really did like it. It is almost the perfect consistency. It's really close.
Yeah.
Some cheesecakes for me are a little bit too dense. Like you kind of feel like you're really trying to cut your teeth through it.
Yeah.
And
it shouldn't be that way. It should be smooth and velvety.
Right. That's my preference. And so it was pretty smooth and velvety. It just wasn't quite as thick as normal. Yeah. But it wasn't too far off.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know, because I really like when Lee pulled it out, it looked pretty, like I didn't have any sinky middles.
That's always exciting though.
Yeah. And it looked pretty good. And then when it had sat and cooled, everything looked pretty straight across, which was nice. And then the only thing, like I said, is the crust. I got to figure out how to do the crust though, because I like a good, I wouldn't say dry crust, but I like a crispy crust. I want it to be a crust, not a soggy pile of Nilla wafers or something like that. So I'm going to have to kind of tweak that a little bit, because there is plenty of moisture within that Instant Pot container. And I'm worried about the crust being affected by how much
Well, that's true too. You might be able to cut more than a tablespoon of that butter
because of that.
If you did keep the cream in the cookies.
Yeah.
It's hard not to keep the cream in the cookies unless you're doing like a double stuff, and so it's easily scraped out. Or you're just buying like some type of a random
crust,
only chocolate cookie type thing. I don't know. Yeah.
That was my first attempt with the cheesecake, and I'm sure others can comment. So I'm going to do a shout out to our listeners really quickly. If you have a cheesecake recipe that is like, it is perfect, please send it to me.
She's going to try it for the Instant Pot.
Yeah, because I'm not afraid anymore, people.
This one was really good, and I'd call it a success. I definitely would.
Good. Okay.
But if you have a cheesecake recipe, send it to hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Yes.
And Winter is going to see if she can make it in the Instant Pot.
Because it's been kind of fun. And like I said, if you are afraid of doing a cheesecake, just go buy that little springform pan. I think
7-inch.
Yeah, it was, and that fits perfectly for the 7-in-1 Instant Pot that I have. And it's like $10 for that little springform pan.
Oh, nice.
Come on. It's nothing. Okay, so why don't you give that a try and let me know how it went? Because I thought it was a lot of fun cooking this week.
Okay, so I do have a question about the trivet.
Yes.
So you have used a trivet several times this week in what you've made with your extra Instant Pot recipes. Does the Instant Pot come with this trivet?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just it's probably itself about 6 inches around.
And how high is it?
It's only 3/4 of an inch to an inch tall.
Okay.
So it's got little legs. It's a 3-legged thing.
So if you put a cup of water in there, it is able to be above the cup of water.
It's definitely above it. So that's why I didn't have to worry about double foiling the springform pan or anything like that. So yeah, it came with it. It kind of has these little side handles to them. So if you need to pull something out, you can do that pretty easily.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of nice. So this episode is going to come out actually Monday of Thanksgiving week. So you guys, if you have not purchased an Instant Pot yet, wait a minute, they slash prices on Black Friday. So I will let you know if you haven't bought one yet.
And usually through the weekend till Cyber Monday.
Yeah. So just kind of wait a minute and I'll let you guys know if anything is happening, because I may purchase one of the tiny ones, the small 5-quart ones.
Oh.
So I'll let you guys know about that. And then also I'll put some links to some other accessories that I have really liked and other people have liked too, so that you can try them out if that's something that you want to do. So I'm just saying, if you're not on the Instant Pot bandwagon, might be a good time too.
Come join us. I think I'm going to be buying one this weekend. Perhaps. Mm-hmm. And if you purchase one through the link that we put out, you will be supporting our podcast.
It will be
no extra cost to you.
It would be an affiliate link. And once again, you don't have to go through that link, but if you happen to, then it does help us in the podcast. And then also it doesn't cost you anything. So, and we'll try and get you some good deals. Just saying. Yeah.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is a segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, food fight, food fight. The food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
Sharon, do you have this week's question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
Dear Hungry Squared, I am the head chef in my home, and I work hard to prepare meals for my family every night. I love doing this, but there's something that started to bother me. Certain members of my family are very heavy-handed when it comes to adding condiments to their meals.
Oh, no.
I use lots of herbs and spices to flavor my dishes. I even have my partner assist in taste testing whatever I'm making before it's served. And still, they pack on the salt and hot sauce. How can I address this issue with my family without being too defensive? Thanks, not too hot for the hot sauce.
That is quite the question, Sharon.
Yeah, so she wants to know how she can address the issue of overuse of condiments without being too defensive.
I have one person in this house.
Not you.
There's one person in this house that appreciates condiments also a lot.
Lucy.
Well, I don't know if it's Lucy either. So I grew up like putting ketchup on my eggs.
Okay.
And sometimes ranch dressing or, hot sauce.
On your eggs?
Not my eggs, just in other random stuff.
I mean, I've heard of ketchup and hot sauce. I'm all right with that, but ranch dressing, I was going to have to draw a line.
You're like, what are you thinking about? So I get that. I think people rely on that because the food was not made well before.
Sure.
I don't think I grew up with really super gourmet eggs, for example, and so, because I would usually make it myself. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to put ketchup on it because it will taste better, because it's weird. I've curdled the eggs a little too much, apparently.
Oh,
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so, because they were lumpy and clumpy. So I can understand where they're coming from. And Lee loves his ranch dressing and he loves his fish sauce. And I know everybody's like, fish sauce. Yep. He loves fish sauce just on whatever.
Yeah. Ike is a huge Cholula fan.
Oh, really?
And Noah loves the sriracha like no tomorrow. We've used quite a bit of chili beak in our house.
I love chili beak.
The chili oil that we've talked about on previous episode. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's usually not in my house. It's not too much of an issue. Sometimes Noah will just sit down and be like, oh, where's the sriracha? He'll just look at it and not taste it. And so that kind of bugs because it's like, it's not good enough for you until it's doused in spice. And I'm like, no, I put a ton of cayenne in here. You should find it plenty spicy.
Just try that. So how do you approach it?
You know what? I haven't really yet. It hasn't gotten to the bothersome stage. So I don't really know how to approach it to your family without being too defensive. Honest conversation, maybe.
I got something.
Tell me.
It's totally sneaky. Stop buying those condiments.
Make them go cold turkey a few meals without it.
Think about it. Like if you're like, oh gosh, we're out of Cholula.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You are just going to have to eat food without it.
Because sometimes it takes up, if people get into food ruts, we've talked about food ruts before.
That's true.
And I think it's a food rut where you're just like, this is what I do. I'm going to just add some salt I haven't even tasted it. Or I'm going to add some ranch dressing and I'm not, But
you guys, in Utah, ranch dressing is a super huge popular condiment.
It is.
It's that and fry sauce.
Yeah. And fry sauce is basically ketchup and mayo mixed together.
Right.
It's good stuff.
Some people put a twist on there, but yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe just laying off on purchasing those. Don't have it as an option. And the excuse will be like, gosh, you guys, I don't have any. Why don't you just try and see how it tastes without it?
Right.
And if you really have done your job and you pride yourselves in using your spices and your herbs and that type of thing,
it's flavorful.
You do have to give them a while to get used to it because, if you're used to always adding salt to whatever, right? Like at the table, then your palate is accustomed to a higher salt content.
Well, that's something that we've stopped doing is we've stopped putting out salt and pepper.
Yeah.
And we
not
use
even
it
there.
Less.
Yeah. And that is helpful, like for your health even.
Yep.
So
definitely.
There's a certain thing that I think you can either cold turkey or just be like, you know what, we're going to not use this on this one because it doesn't require it. Because some people get super offended if you ask for some more flavoring or steak sauce, for example,
right,
on your steak. They get really super offended about it. So I think just be sneaky about it. And then just give them a minute to get as accustomed because if they're used to not tasting the food, it's going to be surprising to them. And then their tongues just have to adjust and they'll be like, oh man, I can taste the flavor of this green pepper.
Right.
Or this egg way better now because I'm not dousing it in all the condiments.
Yeah, the food's definitely going to taste different once they train their taste buds to not rely on a certain condiment.
Yeah. And
that could be definitely a good thing. And maybe it would inspire you to be more creative with dishes as well. Yeah. As they are, remembering and learning what food tastes like.
Yeah. Because sometimes you do have to remember like, oh my gosh.
This is a distinct flavor that, sometimes you lose when you drown it in spice or salt.
Something that is, going to be overpowering. So be patient and then just be sneaky, I think. Just don't stop buying those things.
Be patient and passive aggressive.
Yes. That's what my suggestion is. Maybe that's not the best suggestion.
The foundation of all good relationships.
Passive aggressiveness. If you have other thoughts on how to solve this problem, you're welcome to email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music.
You guys, we are going to be hanging out on Facebook Live and probably Instagram Live all this week because it's Black Friday. I'm going to be talking about the Instant Pot a lot.
Yeah. So, you guys, check out what Winter is making on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm excited. The times are going to vary, but it's usually going to be in the evening. So if you want to join us, great. And I just want to, there's going to be one time we're going to ask what other things I need to make in the Instant Pot because there's many things I have not made in the Instant Pot.
Yeah. If you have any requests, lay it on us.
Yeah. We'll give it a try.
Yeah. Winter can make it so you don't have to. And then you can see like, hey, that went pretty well. Or maybe I need one too.
Or that didn't go so well. So maybe
I can do it better and get my own Instant Pot.
So, and I'm going to just be I'm not going to believe it until I see it, Sharon, that you've purchased an Instant Pot. So I'm just going to say that you're not going to buy one because
maybe
I don't believe it.
I'm thinking about it.
I don't believe it.
That'll be your Christmas present.
Yeah.
It's me with a picture of my Instant Pot.
Yes. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I got an Instant Pot. I don't believe it still. Okay, well, join us next week for our next episode of Food Nerdery. And we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.